Whoa. Why did it flip?
Turn it around. What did you do? Okay, there.
Now, can you hear me? Okay. Welcome to the board meeting. Thank you all for coming. I'm glad you're here. Hearing what you have to say. Before I call the meeting to order, I'm going to tell you how the meeting's going to work. Once I call it to order, everyone who has signed up to speak has 5 minutes. If you haven't signed up to speak by now, you're not on the list. Everybody can talk. Then I have a couple of short remarks, and then we'll go into the regular board meeting. You are welcome to stay for the whole thing. You're welcome to leave any time. If you leave during what's going on, please do so quietly. Okay? I'm now calling the meeting to order at 5:35. And who's on the list to speak first?
Mr. Armstrong. Armstrong.
Hey, my name is Dan Armstrong. My wife and I moved here in 2021. We bought our property here in 2017. I may look familiar to some of y'all. I've worked every election in Bosque County since we moved here. So some of y'all may recognize me from that. In fact, some of y'all sitting here I've worked with. Joan, hello, Joan. Hello, Joe. I've worked with some of y'all at early voting and elections and whatnot. But that's not what brings us here this evening. There's a lot of tension in the room. I can't understand that. In 2023, property evaluations were fairly reasonable, I thought. I mean, it had gone up, about 70%, something like that. Between 2023, and I'm talking about non-ag timber, okay? Improvements are going to, that's. But between 2023 and 24, it's a good thing I don't have a heart condition, because I may have been flopping around on the floor after I saw my 2024 evaluation, because it went up 489% in 1 year. I'm not the only one. Here's a spreadsheet of everybody that happens to be in our little neighborhood, which is called Number 1 Lake Place, which, by the way, is nowhere near the lake or a place. And Mr. Smith had his go up 487%. Mr. Killian had his go up 489%. Lauderdale 334. Here's a 453. Here's a 478. Here's a 262. Here's a 487. Here's a 304. Now, as usual, I went before the ARB with my protest, and I want to say there was some sympathetic ears in the crowd, but for the most part, they just decided to nod politely and decide to go with the chief president. So what I did was I filed for arbitration. Now, on a property my size, that costs you $500. Which, if you happen to be successful, you get all but 50 back. So, once all the dust settled on that, then I had 45 days to negotiate. And we took advantage of that 45 days, and we reached what I thought was a relatively reasonable conclusion to that process. This year, I got my appraisal again. They went right back to the number that we had negotiated off of last year. Right back to that same number. Why did we go through arbitration last year? What changed between last year and this year? Well, he just wanted to get it back up to where he decided it should have been 2 years ago. Who else has changed? Well, Mr. Orrs went 0. No change. Bounce, 0. Smith, 0. Killian, 0. Lauderdale, 0. 0, 0, 0, 0. Mine, 71%. Mr. DeLand, 103%. I don't know where these numbers are coming from. Maybe somebody took a nap, had a bad dream, and decided that we live in Dallas County, or maybe Tarrant, or maybe Harris, or Travis. But there ain't a property in Bosque that's worth that much.
Amen.
Okay? And according to state law, 23.01 tax code, the evaluations are supposed to mirror market value. They should be tied at the hip with market value. Yeah?
Amen.
Correct?
Amen.
That's the way, that's the law. Okay? That's the law. And none of these evaluations match up with market value. Yet when you go in there with comps, what happens? You show them 15, 20, 25. I've got 27 comps that are below the appraised value, or the proposed appraised value that I got this year. And they're going to try it out for 1 or 2 or 3, where some crazy person from Dallas or someplace came in here with a bunch of stupid money and paid way over market for a piece of property that, supply and demand. It happened on our street. There were 2 acres left on the street, and I don't want to say that the guy was crazy or whatever, but supply and demand. There were 2 acres left. He was desperate to get into our neighborhood, so he paid what the seller was asking, which was crazy money. And that's kind of where that deal shook out. And so that's the comp that they trot out and say, well, here's market value. No, it's not. That's what we call an outlier. Okay. Those that know something about statistics, that's an outlier. You throw that one out because it doesn't even come close to the mode for me. Am I turning right? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm neglected to say that no one on the board is allowed by law to respond to any comments that you all make.
Next up is Mrs. Cannon.
Say again?
Cannon.
Cannon.
Cannon? Anyone?
Don't make it short and sweet. I ain't gonna take up 5 minutes. Now, my wife and I, we moved. Use the mic. Use the mic, okay. Can you hear me now? Yes. All right. My wife and I, we moved here about 8 years ago. We've lived in Bosque County and we love it. But we noticed, we bought a piece of property in Walnut Springs in 2022. We noticed, I did my research on it after I paid the taxes. From 2019, which I didn't own the property then, but from 2019, the value from 2019 to 2020 went up 20 times. Went from 5,000 just for land value, went up 5,000 to over 100,000. And then it's just stayed up from there. The other thing is, and I don't know why, I haven't done any improvements in the last 2 years, 2.5 years that I've lived there. But you guys keep bumping up my improvements. I haven't done anything. The other thing is from what I have read and researched, the county appraiser is supposed, or the appraiser, chief appraiser, is supposed to be certified through the state, which is done with or regulated with the Texas Licensing and Regulation Department, if I am not correct, mistaken. Mr. Christopher Moser, your name doesn't even pop up. Doesn't show up as Christopher Moser, doesn't show up as Chris Moser, nothing. So who's appraising our property values? Y'all pulling it out of a hat? You having somebody pull it out from Abilene or wherever? Abilene don't know what we got around here. That'd be like me telling you, you know, I'll sell you this because that's the market value. That ain't right. We're just good folks that are trying to make a living, trying to live day to day.
Amen.
Thank you.
Next up is going to be Mr. Mike Dolman.
Speaking of appraisers, how many certified appraisers have we got in this crowd tonight? How many certified appraisers have we got in this crowd tonight? Amen. He works for the office. Justin, Chris. So everybody's coming here with an open mind or a closed mind? Justin, I can ask you a question, can I, since you're not on the board? How many property parcels are in Bosque County?
22,836.
22,836. Anybody have? Did anybody know that? Oh, okay, we got one. All right. Two. All right. Now, I'm Mike Dolman. I've been called a perennial protester. 35 years ago, I owned a cinder block building, the old Meridian Livestock building. That was valued higher than the brand new bank building in Meridian per square foot. You had to walk through the women's restroom to get to the office. It was valued at 10 times the amount of the sale barn in Clifton, and over 5 times the purchase price that I gave for it. 35 years ago, we had a meeting similar to this one. Pretty close, the same size. Many Bosque County taxpayers had issues with the chief appraiser, as well as I did. We voiced our concerns and several of us got on the board. Robert Payne here was one of them. John D. Smith, bless his soul, was the other one. We got a new chief appraiser the right way. The right way. You had these old-timey westerns where everybody got drunk and hired this guy, wanted to hang this guy before the trial. Well, we did it the right way, not an old-fashioned lynching to where it appears to be. After getting on this is a little bit what some of these appraisers go through. After getting on the board, I went to talk to a landowner about the fair and equitable appraisal that we wanted Bosque County to have. He met me with a 12-gauge shotgun. He did not put it down for 10 to 15 minutes. I served on an appraisal board for 22 years. It's time for somebody else to do it. Unlike a lynching, I hope that you are not drinking the Kool-Aid today and believe the AI-generated comments on Facebook. I would like to make a few comments myself. The tax collector is a non-voting member of the appraisal district. For years, she never attended a meeting until this proposed budget was presented. And I might add, she walked out in the middle of that meeting.
Good for her.
The proposed budget was voted down by the taxing entities. That's That's the way it's supposed to work. People, you need to know your rights. I personally called the county commissioners asking them to veto the budget. I'm not on the board this time. The schools were asked to veto the budget by other taxpayers. That budget, the one used in the Facebook comments, was vetoed and is not valid. The Prairie District is not a taxing entity. Their budget has to be approved by the taxing entities, school districts, counties, cities, water boards, this, that, and the other. Over 1,000 individuals signed an online petition. Approximately 38% of those signatures are not county taxpayers.
False.
Of the people pushing this vendetta, do they actually loan taxable property in Bosque County?
You're welcome to check.
Some of them
We have
do
all
not.
of them right here with us.
Why are they pushing this? The AI-generated talking points regarding supposedly unlawful acts is not based on actual laws governing a municipal district. The government
It's on their side.
You know what AI is?
do what?
Do you even know what AI is?
You got
Do you?
your time coming, okay? Just shut up.
Dude.
That's real disrespectful being a young man the way you are. Have you ever served on the director on the appraisal district?
We hope he does.
Let me do my speaking, then you can figure it out. I'm 79, I've been around the world. 75, excuse me. It appears that this group of former classmates are an event to discredit Chris' reputation. It has been said regarding Chris's salary that is out of line with other appraisers in the state. Johnson County recently retired an appraiser making $200,000 plus.
After 40 years. Not 6.
Time. Time.
Way over 5.
Yeah, Mike, 5 minutes, Mike.
All right, Comanche has an opening for a chief appraiser at $160,000. The two houses used in comparison in Walnut Springs are very similar, although two more similar houses in Walnut Springs they did not mention. Why? Don't they use these two as well? They say that the owner divided this tract X by in 2022. So they're comparing the 2022 amount to the 2025 data. If anybody bought property in Bosque County, years 2020, 2021, and 2022, they'd have tripled their value in the property. That's just how it is. In the city limits where there is electricity,
We're done with him.
y'all don't want to hear me talk to you.
No. You have 5 minutes, Mike. 5. You're at 8. You're at 8. You're out of time.
I'm all right.
No, you're out of time.
Anybody wants to know the truth, talk to me. This is nothing but a lynching in the Hammond.
We're all talking to the same, y'all.
John Campbell.
Howdy. My family's been in this county for over 125 years on both sides of the family. Campbell side and the Lomax side. You may have heard of the Lomax side. I got a place outside of Morgan, Texas. I worked 40 years plus in law enforcement for local, state, and feds all over the United States. Worked all my life so me and my wife could retire and come back home. Came back home and lived in the old ranch house that my grandparents built back in the 30s. A few years after I got moved in there, settled down, I got an appraisal. So, like most people, I protested and went before the board. Well, I brought my information, stood before the board, nervous, didn't know really what I was doing there. But Chris was sitting there, and he recognized right off that inadvertently they had coded a storage building of mine as a residential area. And I was only protesting $10,000 back then, the difference in my property had jumped up, and I knew I hadn't done anything to deserve it. So I went in there and protested. Chris saw it. He said, okay, here's what happened. And the room was full of junk. It's not a residence, it's a storage building. They dropped it down to where it was. Now this was in about 17 or 18. Subsequent to that, I fully retired after working for Boston County and Hill County in law enforcement. And so I had the paper and then retired. I went and filled that application out and was hired on the board. I'm on the ARB. I've been for the last over 2 years. Now, I'm a good judge of character. I had to be throughout my law enforcement career because I dealt with some not too savory people over the years. I watched Chris, I watched everybody, I asked questions. I went to work for the board because I wanted to find out what the process was. How did we arrive at these numbers? How does this work? And being a curious-minded person I am, always have been, I wanted to learn. So I went to work for the appraisal district, for the board. I don't work for the district, excuse me. I went to work on the board that is completely separate from the district, from the county, on their appraisal board. And I watch these people interact every day. I watch how they stress ethics and follow the law. And something you may not know, and I was made aware of. Yes, prices, appraisals went extremely high in this county overnight, it seemed like. And I understood why people were upset. But as a board, we sat there and we explained to people a lot of the reasons that the appraisals in Bosque County went up so high was because the state comptroller's office forced the county appraisal district to do that. And what some of y'all may not know is they cut off school funding because Bosque County was behind the times in appraising property properly. Unfortunately, a lot of people, and me included, had bear the brunt of that in order to keep our schools funded. They had to get in line. As a matter of fact, they sent outside people to do appraisals into this county that drove a lot of these prices up. And us on the IRB, we recognize that, and we try to be as fair as we can and make sure that we are doing, sometimes we don't have a choice. The market value is what the market value is. Comps are comps. We weigh all that out. We take great pains to ensure that we are doing what's fair and honest for everybody in Bosque County, because all of us on the board are landowners in Bosque County. I said, my family's been here 125 years, over 125 years. I love Bosque County. And I'm done. I appreciate that.
All right, next up, we're going to bring up Mr. Finch, David Finch.
All right, I have our petition here with all our signatures. It also has the zip codes of everyone that signed. We noticed that some of them may have shown different cities. We noticed that some of these zip codes may show different cities, but that is because of the IP address that people are using. So if you use a VPN, or your home goes through Cox, Suddenlink, something different than what's around here, it's going to show a different zip code. So mine, I did mine, I lived in Meridian, mine showed Waco. So the claim that these people aren't from Bosque County, untrue. We are presenting our petition to remove Chris Moser. As we have talked to the comptroller's office, and they said the proper procedure is for us to form a petition, take it to the county appraisal district review board, or whatever these guys are here, because the comptrollers have no control over hiring Mr. Moser or the chief appraiser or anybody at the appraisal district's office. So we've gone through those proper channels. Now we doubt they will actually take action on it, but we've done our due diligence there. So, what other topics we got? Today I do have a bombshell. We have discovered through some investigating that the Bosque County Appraisal District has been illegally using the MLS. And I am, wait here, Mr. Gummel. It was registered under Mary Lee Greenwood, and that is a very strict system. It's for only licensed realtors, or a county appraisal district can apply to use it. But they did not. Once she retired, they would have to reapply for it, which they did not. Ms. Greenwood retired in 2019. So they have had unfettered access, and the IP addresses show they've been accessing it. So they're not just using their software, they're also correlating it with MLS data, which with Texas being a non-disclosure state, you don't have to report the sales price of your property. But the people on the MLS can see it because they're licensed to see that. They're not licensed to see that. So effective 4:35 p.m., it has been revoked, and Miss Mary Lee Greenwood's membership of the Arlington Board of Realtors has been canceled. So we do have that to report. On top of that, Ms. Galindo has a giant binder of filings we have filed with the Secretary of State, the Attorney General's Office, the TREC, the TLDR, the Bosque County Judge, the District Judge, the District Attorney, and the Sheriff's Office, all with penal code violations, tax code violations, local government code violations, citing all of these things. On top of this, we have also filed grievances with TEA because Mr. Moser's mother-in-law is the president of the Morgan ISD School Board, which is a conflict of interest because she's a taxing entity and he is the chief appraiser. On top of that, we have also filed nepotism complaint for Miss Michelle DeLeon because her daughter is a direct report under her at the County Appraisal District, which is unfortunate, but nepotism in government is not allowed. So we're going through all the venues that we can to prove all the things they're doing wrong. We have thousands of pages. We have an 8-inch binder over here of evidence. Correct. But the evidence shows that they're valid. Yes, it does. If anybody would like a copy of our 1,000-page report, we would be happy to provide that to you. It's in our Google Drive. Also, hopefully here in the next week, there should be some movement at the DA's office for the MLS charges, because that is a Class A misdemeanor at the least, and a state jail felony at the max. Because MLS access is $150 a quarter, And to be a state jail felony, if it surpasses $2,500 a year, that's a state jail felony. If it's less than $2,500 a year, then it's a Class A misdemeanor, which is completely understandable. And that may result in no jail time, but all of our research and time we put into this, showing comps that they ignore, like we've had several people come to us, they take their comps with them, they won't take them. They want to use just Mr. Moser's comps, which is not acceptable. And now that the MLS has been killed, they're going to have to reprove all of your appraisals that they appraise, because they have to prove that they did not use the MLS to appraise your properties. Thank you.
Mrs. Barbara Dummel. Barbara Dummel.
Okay, can y'all hear me? Good. All right. I'm Barbara Dummel. Mike and I have protested the appraisal of some piece of property nearly every year. Most times we get with an appraiser and we sit down and we come to an agreement. However, the last several years that Mike served on the board, the law changed. A board member could no longer sit down with an appraiser and discuss their personal property values. The state considered that an elected or appointed board member using their influence to change the appraised value unlawful. So we had to go in front of the ARB and explain our side and show evidence to support our claim to get our property values changed. Being on the appraisal board has no perks or advantages regardless of what you have read on social media. I've served on many committees and boards in the 41 years I've lived in Bosque County. I've heard numerous complaints over all kinds of issues, and I've learned one thing. Problems don't get solved until the different parties are willing to sit down together and talk. What we are seeing is a social media attack on the appraisal board and the chief appraiser. Lots of accusations, innuendos, but no solutions. Okay, you're sitting out there and you're thinking, yes, we have a solution. Fire all of them. Okay, look around. You see neighbors, you see friends, even family. Are these the people you want to go to war with over property values?
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
Board meetings are open to the public. Appraisers, including the chief appraiser, are available 5 days a week to discuss your values. You know these board members. They're your friends. They're your neighbors. Talk to them.
We have.
Sidney Carlisle has been personally attacked on social media. Well, there's a few things you don't know about Sidney that wasn't posted on social media. 25 years ago, she was asked to serve on the ambulance board with myself, Mary Lyons, and Levada Whitford. She is one of the people responsible for you having an ambulance service in this county. She stayed on that board until the ESD, the Emergency Service District, was formed. She then volunteered to serve on the ESD board. She has been the person the ambulance board could go to for smooth communication between these two boards. Next time you or one of your family needs an ambulance, you might say thank you to Sidney Carlisle. We are not in Austin. We are not in Washington, D.C. This is Bosque County. Call. Go to the office. Protest your appraisal. If you don't like the state laws concerning property tax, call your state representative. I went to Austin. I had an issue with the law. I testified in front of the Congressional Committee. I know it can be done. Each one of you are capable of doing that if you want to put in the work. Neither the board nor Chris can change state laws. You've got to go to your state representative. Thank you for listening. Please think hard about your actions. We are a great community. Let's act like it.
Laurel Galindo.
Every night.
Hello, my name is Laurel Galindo. I grew up here in Boston County. Served my country, came home, bought some property. So I am a property owner. And I was made aware of some things that were happening at the appraisal district during a council meeting in Walnut Springs. And so I asked our city secretary to send me everything that we had received from the appraisal district since I was a new council member. And the more I started reading into the information, I was disturbed. I'm a title examiner by profession. So I read legal documents all day and I write underwriting reports for insurability. And that's what I do. I'm a nerd. And I like to read and I have to write reports. And so the more I read, the more there was to write. And so what I have here is everything that Fair Appraisals, which comprises Trey and Darcy and Justin Vaughn and myself, everything we've gone over, we've looked at, all the research that's been done, and we have submitted this information to several state and federal agencies now for their own independent investigations. But I do think this is credible evidence that there is something wrong in Bosque County. For example, like I said, I title examined, and I was underwriting a file, and the house was on Main Street in Temple, Texas. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, on a small lot, but Temple, Texas, on the Main Street. Its taxes were assessed at $169,000. Now, I do have property, and one of my houses in Walnut Springs, population 800, was assessed this year at $200,000. And I'm very proud of my little rental house, I am, but it's not a $200,000 house. And I see things like that all day, every day for comparison. So no, there is something wrong in Bosque County, and I do stand behind that. And I guess that's really all I have to say. We'll let the authorities look everything over and make their own decisions. Thank you. Dina Day.
Good evening, I'm Dina Day. I also have had my family in this county over 100 years. So I've got history here, I grew up here, I moved off so I never come back to this little Roanoke area and did. I retired here. So I have been going to county commissioners meetings since I moved here. I have been going to Central Appraisal District meetings since I've been here. I have stood up and spoke at both numerous times in the last year. I want to first off thank the district because one of the things I suggested was moving the meeting